Okay, so this is my second video, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about hypocrisy, I guess. I've told you already that I'm a compulsive eater, and in my book, it took me a long time to recognize it as being a full-blown eating disorder, just like somebody who's anorexic would admit it. And I think that a lot of it has to do with you don't, in the real world, not the medical world, it's very hard to see it as a true medical problem. And not just, you're fat, all you do is gonna die and you'll lose the weight, stuff like that. Because it's not that. The weight does play a big role. But it's not just that. You all lose weight. No question. Because it comes to a point when you don't look healthy, you don't feel healthy, it starts having an effect. If you have any other medical problem, they will all connect it to you being overweight. So, yeah, the weight does play a role, but the thing is that I guess that it's a minority. Because when you eat so much, your social life goes down the toilet. Your thoughts are consistently consumed by your next meal or your next binge or your next shopping spree. God knows I had these days where all I could think about was nights. All I could think about is getting up in the morning, waiting 9 o'clock when the supermarket opened, and going, and I would make a shopping list in my head. What am I going to get? And I just knew I was going to eat it all. And I'm talking about a cart full of stuff. So it's pretty horrendous. And I would have really weird binges because my binges would always include, there would always be a way for me to spend money on myself. So I would get really good vegetables like cherry tomatoes, which are very expensive here, and really nice fresh mushrooms. And part of my binge would be eating a really nice salad, which is funny. But there would always be ice cream. Ice cream is a staple in my binges. And which binge. But the frustrating thing about it is that it's a problem, and see, people don't recognize it. But when somebody is overweight, there's clearly a problem. It might be a medical problem, but it just might as well be a mental problem, because you're not supposed to eat beyond what your body requires, and sometimes you make the wrong choices, so you'll gain a little weight, and you'll gain a little bit of weight over the years. But if you gained 20 kilos in 1 year, something is clearly wrong, because you're eating way more than you should. And I find it appalling that if somebody loses 5 kilos too much, plus, and becomes underweight, then all of a sudden everybody will be, oh my God, is she eating enough? Is she anorexic? But if somebody gains 20 kilos, oh well. So, yeah, I feel like it's hypocritical, and I think that's one of the problems. It takes a while for you to admit that compulsive eating is really an eating disorder. Because saying it's an eating disorder puts it in the same category as anorexia and bulimia. You have a very hard time looking at yourself like that. Not because you don't want to admit you're sick, but because you don't think you're good enough. I've read that it's very common for eating disorders to correspond together. So it's very common for somebody who's anorexic to become bulimic and somebody who's bulimic to become anorexic. And again, it's actually not that uncommon for somebody who's compulsive eater to become anorexic or whatever. Because at some point you just become so fed up and just want to lose weight, and you go to extreme. Because one of the things that compulsive eating teaches you is to be extreme. So instead of eating everything, now you're eating nothing. And God knows I've done that, and I've lost a lot. I never really became even close to underweight being, and I never became anorexic, because the definition of that is more than just how you eat. It's more how much you weigh. I do feel in other cases that it's not fair. It's not fair. I had a problem just as big as somebody who's not eating enough. And God knows in my medical situation it actually almost killed me on 2 occasions. And it's just never been treated like that, and I think that's a real big problem. I also hate it when people use terms like you know, like in diet forms or stuff like that. So they're like, look at eating and then they complain, oh my god, I can't believe how much you ate, I binged, and they use the word binge. I binged so much and I'm such a compulsive eater. Like, no, you're not. Because you're not a compulsive eater. It doesn't consume your entire life. You're not a compulsive eater because I think it's just something really disturbing about that. And, yeah?